Good morning, everyone. Today, I would like to make a video recording of the tutorial for the CA number 2. So for the CA number 2 for this streaming class, the main requirement is to demonstrate the ability to use Python script to capture streaming data and then to store it locally in a local database and subsequently perform some transactions importing out this data that is captured from the streaming. So there are basically 4 requirements that make up this project. Number 1, I will do a script to generate these fake transactions from a CSV data file. That is the first step. The second step is I need to prepare a database in order to store all these captured stream data. And the third step over here, the third step is to do a PySpark script to a query to capture all this streaming data and then store it into the local database. And finally, the last step, after this data is been stored onto the database, we will use a package called dash. The script will continuously read from this database and then perform a live update chart using the dash package. So I'll move on to step 1. Step 1 over here is I need to prepare the script and put it in this structure. I call it generate transactions. The CSV file is also in the same directory. Now the files that will be generated will be stored in a subdirectory called the in. So over here, I will execute this command from the Python command prompt, and once I execute this command, the transactions in terms of text file will be generated continuously. Now if I open this subdirectory over here for in, we will see the transactions that is being generated. So this data is to simulate streaming data that is coming live. If I open up one of this text file, you can see that there's a sales transaction inside with the time and date stamp. For this transaction script, I've appended it to the Word document over here with comments to explain the objective and logic of each step. And the next step, while this transaction is being generated, the next step we will need to set up the database for eventually storing all this captured streaming data. To do that, I will make use of the MySQL database server as well as the workbench to interact with this server. To set up this table over here, I will run this query to set up the table with the schema required to support the captured data. So I will have an ID, the transaction, as well as the timestamp. So after setting up this database, we are now ready to move on to the third step. So over here, I did a screen capture of the schema for the table. So initially, while preparing the database, it is actually empty inside because I not yet start to capture put any data inside the database. Now the next step is to execute a Python script to execute the query function and to capture this streaming data. After capturing this streaming data, you need to insert this data into the MySQL database. So I'll quickly show the script. So generally, I would need to define a function called the insert data into my SQL. So it basically consists of two steps. One is to connect to the database, and the next step is to keep on inserting data into the table. After that, you will close the connection with the database. So for this portion is to define the schema required to read from the streaming data and to put it into a data frame. Now over here, I have this step where I continuously perform a stream query, and they will keep on calling the function insert data into my database. So after executing this script, data will be populated into the database. I did a screen capture over here to show this. So initially the database is supposed to be empty. So after executing the streaming function, the database will be populated. So now that the streaming data is captured into the database, we'll move on to the last step. And the last step is to perform a live plotting of this data onto the chart. So there are 4 steps to do this. First, I will set up the dash package over in this portion over here. Second, I will define a read data from SQL function, which I will continuously call. After reading this data from the database, I will transfer this data to a data frame to facilitate plotting out. After that, I will call the live update graph function to plot out the bar chart. So this is the last step for this project. So basically, this project is demonstrated that it is possible to do capturing of this live streaming data, insert it into a database, and subsequently reading from this database, and then to perform simple processing such as plotting out onto a live chart. So these are the 4 requirements. So these 4 requirements are fulfilled. Thank you. Bye-bye.